right, guys, here we are, episode 4 of How to Mod Every Single Character in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. Today, we're going to get right into this, talking with Gridden about how to mod the General Grievous team. Everybody's favorite team. Let's go ahead and get it, guys. Gridden. Here we are again. It's been about 5 minutes since we recorded the last video, if that.
Everybody already makes a joke that I only own 2 t-shirts. When I did my 1 year celebration, I happened to be wearing the exact same shirt of like one of my first streams. They're like,
oh,
wait,
no.
I was like, I know, okay, I'm sorry.
I have days where I record multiple videos in one sitting. Sometimes I'll do like 3 or 4 videos in one sitting. And I'm like, I gotta change shirts here because it's gonna look like I just live in the same shirt. I'm just not bothering now. I'm just gonna tell you guys, okay, curtains off, the wizard is exposed. We just recorded the other video. Here we are doing another. Yeah. We're gonna talk about this Grievous team today, guys. Now, if you're not familiar with this series, we are giving everybody a base idea of kind of how to generally mod these characters. I will be posting a playlist for all of the other episodes of this so you guys can go through and watch all of them. I would encourage you to do so. Meant to be kind of a high-level overview, some base stats for you guys to search for. The characters are listed here in order, not with the leader on the far left, but with the turn order displayed. And so yes. Newt, of course, is the character you want the fastest. Grievous will be the leader of this team. I have seen people experiment with Newt as a leader with Grievous, but I do think Grievous is going to be the go-to leader. So let's get into this specific discussion. Now, something I just want to call out before we get into this is potency is by far the most important stat with the Grievous team across the board. I mean, when people think about the Grievous team, I think they think about modding their Grievous for a lot of health. We're going to talk about that. Of course, you want to mod your Grievous for a lot of health. But every other character, literally every other character but Grievous, if you put a lot of potency on them, you benefit tremendously.
Yeah, this kit is, if you look at the details of this kit, there's way more to this than a lot of people give credit for. A lot of times, yeah, you look at Grievous and you say, okay, let's go for some DPS, and then you kind of go on your way and you're like, I don't know what's going on over here. I guess speed or something, whatever, blah, blah, blah. If you put enough of the details together, there is so much in this kit that relies on potency, and specifically target lock, that fuels a cycle. So
it fuels a cycle of damage, a cycle of turn meter, etc. So let's start the discussion with Newt. Now, Newt, you do want him to be the fastest on the team, but even then, 280 speed, it's not super fast. This team does not need to be incredibly quick. 176 is Newt's base speed, so we're not even asking more than 104 speed added to him. The faster the better, as always, but this tends to be a team a little bit farther down on your modding priority, and so you might not be able to add 150 speed to Newt. Now, note, extortion is one of the biggest drivers of Newt's kit. That does not require potency because extortion is not a debuff, it's a status effect. And so the potency isn't going to be contingent there. But what you do need that potency for is for his special dubious dealings, which is going to have that AoE speed down. Now remember, AoE speed down, if everybody gets that debuff because of his unique, that's 5% max health damage or 25% if they've got extortion on them. And so potency for Newt turns Newt into an AoE damage monster.
Yeah, he surprisingly starts dealing damage out of nowhere. Like, you don't think of him as a damage dealer. He doesn't hit hard, but he has that max health damage potential.
You blink and it's gone health.
Yeah. Now, the reason behind this speed, because I know, and I could already hear people are going to be like, why not have B1 be the fastest? That's not a bad thing. Like, you're not going to be in trouble for doing that. The idea comes because extortion is oftentimes overlooked when it comes to Newt's kit here. Extortion, all enemies who have extortion will have negative 30% speed. Not just 30 speed, 30% speed in offense. So the sooner he goes, you are creating a bigger rift between your team and the enemy team. You will not only be giving them speed down, you will also be giving them negative 30% speed. And so the sooner that he is going, the better for your team. The more you're going to be slowing down the enemy team. And so that's the idea behind it. Again, not the worst thing in the world. It's easier to make B1 faster. He has a higher base
Yeah.
speed, if I remember right.
Yeah, Newt's base speed is 176. We'll go into B1 here. B1 is 165 actually. So no, Newt is faster. Newt is faster.
So a lot of times I will see people who have your B1 up at like 290s and stuff like that, and that's fine. The idea to explain the logic behind having this fastest Newt is very specifically because of that, of getting the rift started between your teams. And then B1 comes in there and makes it exponentially worse. Just B1 just he drives a hammer in that rift that Newt is starting.
Yeah, and that's driven with the target lock, right? Because we've got the extortion from Newt. Obviously, the speed down any debuffs that he lands. You've got the 5% or 25% to extortion max health damage. And then B1 comes in. He's got the target lock, which is going out there from his AoE, and that's going to fuel a lot of turn meter gain.
Yes, there's so much going on that when you see Grievous's leadership, and I remember originally looking at it, I was like, enemies, critical avoidance, negative defense, that's cool. And there's, I don't know, a wall of text. But there's a lot going on in there. Yes, there's so much going on. And so we'll do our best here to break it down simply. But basically, when a target locked enemy gets damaged, each droid and each separatist ally gains 2% turn meter, which is doubled for Grievous.
Yep.
So that means it doubles up on itself. So each droid and each separatist. So if you have a droid separatist, that's 4% turn meter. And then Grievous is a droid separatist, so his 4% is doubled. That turns into 8% turn meter. That's every time any target locked enemy is deep or is damaged. So you have B1 who spreads target lock. Other people spread target lock. We'll talk about that when we get to them. But if you imagine,
you're going to see how this compounds here. So we're just we've seen the debuffs with Newt. What that does is damage, and then extortion is helping create the speed gap. Then B1 goes. And you've got the target lock out there. That damage fuels turn meter.
And then he has an AoE. So if you had the whole enemy team target locked, which will not take a long time for you to do, every single turn
4%
that he is going with an AoE, you're getting 20% turn meter just like that. Grievous is over here gaining 40. Like it's just all of a sudden you're like, oh my goodness, everyone is going. Now, not to mention at the same time, when damaged by an attack, dark side enemies will also lose 5% turn meter. So if you're going against a dark side team, you will also you are further creating a rift between your two teams in turn meter because you are also removing the enemy's turn meter. B1 fuels that. His AoE inflicts the target lock. So as much as you're spreading that out there, great. His basic, which you should never use. You're always going to be doing the AoE. But if the enemy was target locked, all droid allies recover 5% of the leader's max health and protection. So again, you want to spread that target lock, you want the potency, and you want him fast. So every single time that he's spreading out target lock, you're getting all of that turn meter. Every time he's getting called to assist, he's giving health back to your team.
Yeah.
It goes all over the place.
And we're just on B1, guys. There's more of that potency value that is going to add to this turn meter train. So I hope you guys are starting to gain the theme of the video is add potency to your Grievous team. All right, let's talk about Grievous, by the way. 195 speed, not really that important to get him super fast. Mostly because of how much turn meter gain there is on this team and how many bonus turns Grievous is afforded when things happen. He's got 58,000 base health, and we're recommending 140,000 health on him. That's a lot of health to gain from mods. And so basically, all health sets, 6 health sets, all health primaries, in a lot of cases, health primary on the arrow even. As much health as you can possibly find, get it on Grievous, because literally all of his damage goes to health. Now, we do have on here 200% crit damage is nice to have. I could see it going both ways, though. You almost kind of want to ignore the crit damage sometimes and just go offense.
Yeah, it's, again, one of those areas where it's like, I mean, when it comes down to it, your trade-off health triangle to a crit damage triangle isn't like, I mean, it's not like it's a, not like it's a ton. It is a good amount. But like you're going to be trading, 36 to 40% crit damage For if you're talking to your Relic 7 Grievous, is going to be somewhere around like roughly 12,000 health is what a triangle is worth, roughly.
Yeah.
And so you're trading 12,000 health for 30 to 40% crit damage. And it's like, is that ultimately worth it? It's like, I mean, all of his stuff scales off of his health. You're not going to go like, it's not like all of a sudden he won't work if you have a, crit damage triangle. It's the safe route. Just give him all the health in the world and you're going to be fine. You're going to be okay. You won't regret it.
Yeah.
There's arguments can be made. He does have his mastery gives him crit damage. So he'll be gaining at Relic 7, I think it's like 14% additional crit damage as well. He gains crit chance, he gains damage. It's not like it's a bad thing to have that crit damage. I just feel like the safer route is just give him a ton of health and you're good to go.
Call it a day. Little bit more simple to mod Grievous from that perspective. So, and just to reiterate, in case you guys were snoozing at the beginning of the video, Grievous is the leader in this team. We just have the turn order set left to right. All right, let's go ahead and we're going to talk about the next character here. Now, let's talk a little bit more about potency, guys. Again, that's the theme of the video. For B2, really 100% potency recommended. His base potency is 58%. What this comes from, you might think about the buff immunity. Okay, so the buff immunity is nice, but not for the buff immunity necessarily as much as the turn meter gain that you get from that buff immunity, which is going to be 5% turn meter gain for everyone.
Yeah, so again,
you want to land all of those buff immunities because everyone's going to get dished out 5% turn meter, and then stack that on top of B1. If you've got that that target lock, then target locked enemies are also going to provide that turn meter gain.
Yeah, so he has an AoE buff, buff dispel, and then buff immunity. That's awesome. And buff immunity is great. It will help out your kit. His true sort of like purpose. It's doubled up there. His unique very specifically states whenever he inflicts a debuff, all other Separatist allies will gain 5% turn meter. And so if you think about your AoE, if you inflict 5% or 5 buff immunities, well, all right, there you go, 25% turn meter. So he can heavily fuel the turn meter gain on this team, as well as his basic. So let's say he doesn't have mow down off cooldown. That's okay. His basic also inflicts target lock. And if they're had target lock, you get crit damage down. So either way, he's still continuing to inflict debuffs. So he's still continuing to fuel the turn meter on this team. Want him nice and beefy so he stays alive as long as possible and continue to fuel the turn meter for as long as possible. Going back to Grievous for just a moment, his leadership states whenever a dark side droid ally is resisted, they will gain 10% potency, stacking for the rest of the encounter. So it's not the end of the world if you don't have potency, but it's like, why not start with all of that turn meter gain off the rip instead of being like, oh, I'll get my potency as I go along through the battle. Just have it off the rip. Just all of a sudden, boom, here's 20% turn meter, here's 5% turn meter, here's 8% turn meter, here's 10% turn meter. Just give yourself the best opportunity.
It's like Oprah, man. Just giving out turn meter to everyone. Just toss it to everyone.
Yeah, so that's where he comes in. He does a lot more. That unique is definitely sometimes overrated, as well as target lock. Target lock and potency go hand in hand in this squad. Target locked enemies also have negative 25% crit chance and negative 25% evasion. So the more target lock that's spread, whether through B2 or anybody else, the more potency you got, the better.
Target lock, potency, turn meter gain. You guys are getting the jiffy. So here we go. I don't even, what was that? I don't even know what that phrase is. You guys are getting the
gist of it.
There we go. What did I say?
You almost had it. You're getting the jiffy of it.
It's been a long week. Okay, it's Monday for me, and it's okay. Let's talk about Magna Guard. So potency, his base potency is at 47%. So get him up to at least 60%. We would advise. It's nice to have that tenacity as well. Avoid that buff immunity, so we can taunt, avoid the daze because he counterattacks.
Yep. His main role, first and foremost, before any of these secondary stats, is going to be that's what you need him to do. Any stat that helps him be a better tank, the better. Yep. The tenacity is there again, like you're saying. It staves off buff immunity. That saves off daze. He counters. Whenever he counters, he taunts. By getting rid of buff immunity, he's going to be taunting more. That's his job. Yeah. But again, here comes frickin' target lock over here. Magna Guard will 20% tenacity and defense for each target locked enemy. So all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you're going to have 100% tenacity and 100% defense. Dope. you're already going to be getting a ton of stuff. The potency is there because his basic, again, he counters. His basic inflicts target lock. So everything else we just talked about with target lock.
What do you know?
Wow. Wow.
Oh, the Grievous team be like, target lock?
More! And there's just the more target lock and the more potency, the more.
You just cut out. You cut out completely. I literally just saw you going.
No. Actually, I was just trolling you. I wasn't even talking. Joke's on you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Whatever.
Potency, again, is mostly for the target lock. He does have a stun. I mean, that's cool, but like, it's not about. It's mostly about the target lock.
We're not putting the potency there for the stun. It's mostly for the target lock, but the stun is a nice little side bonus, right? I mean, any type of stun, lose a turn.
One sort of hidden gem, actually, that I think a lot of people don't know about. Droid battalions with B1, just to show how this wraps in, specifically with Magna Guard. Droid battalion, everybody knows B1. If you have the Zeta, you start with 100 stacks of Droid battalion. You're like, great, I have offense. That tends to be, at least for me, that's where my thought process stops. Little known fact that Droid battalion, for each stack of Droid battalion, he also will give all Separatist allies 0.5% tenacity and critical avoidance. So your Magna Guard, who, if you have this high tenacity, great, 70%, you will also be starting the battle thanks to 100 stacks of Droid Battalion. You're already going to be starting with just a ton of bonus tenacity because of B1, as well as critical avoidance. And so they're interconnected. This team is very interconnected with one another. And it all sort of cycles and fuels around potency, target lock, tenacity,
extortion,
the whole works. You put all these little puzzle pieces together, and next thing you know, within a couple of turns, I mean, if you put this to the extremes, if everybody on the enemy team has extortion, every single person will have negative 30% speed and negative 30% offense. That's already like huge. You just cut their speed by a third. Then you start putting in Grievous's leadership, that you will gain so much turn meter whenever a target locked enemy is damaged. Then you put in B2, gives even more turn meter whenever he inflicts a debuff. And then you have B1, who's spreading all of those target locks and getting all of the turn meter himself as well. Yeah. And then you got Magna Guard over here, who Magna Guard on his special disruption will give speed up. So Newt will give speed down. Magna Guard's giving speed up. It's just like the rift that gets created between these two teams gets like Grand Canyon sized if you don't.
And this is why to counter the team, you really got to get out ahead of them. You got to get out ahead of them fast. You got to get rid of characters and manage Grievous, manage a turn meter, keep your protection up, etc. Which is very challenging to do if you've got all of that potency out there. And so I think there's a big miss with a lot of people. I think a lot of people are not modding this team for nearly enough potency. And so if there's any big takeaway we want you guys to have, and I'll show you guys, get your screenshots ready. Here's the full graphic for you guys so you can take a picture of it. But get as much potency as you can on this Grievous team, and you will certainly not regret it. And Gridden's over here taking a selfie of himself. It's too bad I missed that. You're gonna post that to your Instagram or something?
Yeah, I'll post it. Yeah, no, for sure.
All right. Episode
it's a fun
4.
kid.
Yeah, it's fun. And this was a really good discussion. I hope it helped you guys. I hope you guys are enjoying this series. Again, I do have a playlist for the whole series. We got 4 episodes now at this point. We will be continuing on. Next week, we want to do another couple episodes. We're maybe going to be pacing 2 episodes per week to go through basically every character and team in the game. Now, something we will call out in this video, we didn't talk about Watt. We didn't talk about Droidica. This is the best team that we like, but characters like Watt, Nest, and some of those other flex characters, we're probably going to do a whole episode on standalone characters and just how to mod those characters that seem to slot into 5,000 different teams and go from there. But Gridden, thank you so much for joining me, man.
Of course, man. As always, it is a huge pleasure, you guys. If you have any questions about this team composition or anything involving, specifically the Separatists in here, let us know down in the comments. We will absolutely do our best here to continue the discussion about these mods. Again, these are general ideas. We're explaining sort of the mechanics behind it and how to help you have success with these team composition. Can you do other stuff with this team? Oh yeah, there's even a way to use Grievous to counter JML. It's nuts. But like, this won't do that. This isn't going to do it. This is
Yeah.
specifically just to say, if you just want to put a Grievous team down on Territory Wars or GAC and you just set it, forget it, you're just like, whatever. Here are some base stats that are going to help you. But if you want to continue the discussion, let us know down in the comments. We'd be happy to do our best to continue the conversation going about these. But I hope it helps. Thank you again, Cubs, for having me on. These are super fun. I enjoy them. I learn with you guys as
He's
we're
a
doing
mod
these
nerd.
as well. I am.
Everyone.
They're fun.
We got a mod nerd over here, okay? Mod nerd. He's a mod nerd.
I think it's fun. I have a blast. So hit me with your questions or anything, whatever. I'd love. Thanks for having me on, man. It's always a pleasure to hang out with you too.
Love to have you, Grid. And as always, my brothers, don't forget,